They smile, but not because they love you. They smile because it hides the knife, and your body knows it before your mind does. That twitch behind their eyes isn't awkwardness, it's restraint, calculation, the kind of silence that doesn't say, "I'm proud of you." It says, "I'm watching, I'm waiting." That silence doesn't soothe, it sharpens. And that's because it's not peace, it's preparation. Some betrayals don't start with anger. They start with applause. Applause that's just loud enough to distract you, while they take notes. Because not all enemies stand across from you. Some sit beside you, know your childhood stories, share your inside jokes. Some call themselves your best friend. Today, we're exposing 8 chilling signs that your best friend is planning to betray you. These signs are subtle, psychological, but once you recognize them, you'll never unsee them. You'll stop second-guessing yourself, and you'll start understanding what your intuition has been screaming this whole time. Let's begin. They say they're happy for you, but why does it feel like a warning? You don't see it at first, but the first crack always starts here. They say, "That's amazing." When you get good news, they even add a smile, nod, pretend to celebrate. But something in their tone is stiff. Their voice doesn't rise, their face doesn't soften. They hug you, but their arms feel cold. It's like their soul steps back even as their body leans forward, and your nervous system feels it. That slight clench in your gut, the way your shoulders rise without you realizing. You're not tense because you're anxious. You're tense because they're lying. Carl Jung once said that the unconscious leaks. No matter how much someone tries to mask it, you can fake words, but you can't fake frequency. They're playing the part. But the script doesn't match the performance. And your body knows the difference between a real "I'm proud of you" and a pretend one wrapped in silence and stillness. So next time someone supports you with their mouth but not with their presence, pay attention, because energy never lies. But sometimes a compliment doesn't feel like kindness, but it feels like a setup. You're actually really smart. I never knew that about you. You look great today, like shockingly great. They laugh. You laugh. But the laugh doesn't feel good. It feels like a pinch covered in sugar. These aren't compliments, they're emotional booby traps, because real praise lifts you. But this kind makes you question yourself and them. Jung called this projection, when someone sees something in you that they've suppressed in themselves, and they can't stand it. So instead of confronting their own inadequacy, they dress up their envy and hand it to you as a joke. You don't walk away feeling valued. You walk away feeling smaller, and that was the goal. They couldn't just say, "You look amazing." They had to make it a surprise, a punchline, because your glow makes them itch. It reminds them of who they pretended to be and who they're afraid you're becoming. And when they can't dim your light today, they'll drag you back into yesterday. And if twisting praise doesn't shrink you, they dig up the past. They remember your failures like bedtime stories. But forget every win you fought for. You could be glowing, achieving things they said were impossible, changing your life right in front of them. And still, they'll reach for the same story they've told 10 times. Remember when you bombed that presentation? Still laughing at how awkward you were on that date. You try to talk about your new project. They yawn. You bring up your healing journey. They blink and nod. But say one wrong word, make one tiny mistake, and suddenly they're wide awake. It's like they've been waiting for the moment you prove you're still flawed, still human, still below them. Because they never really wanted you to grow. They just wanted you to stay small enough to make them feel tall. Jung taught that people who haven't made peace with their shadow obsess over others' flaws. They need someone to point to and say, "See? They're not that special." They treat your lowest moment like a trophy, because every time they bring it up, they feel better about not evolving themselves. They're not reminiscing, they're reminding you. Don't outgrow them. Don't shine too brightly, because the more you rise, the more uncomfortable they become. So they don't hold you back. They try to outrun you. They call it coincidence. But why do they always need to be one step ahead? You tell them something important, like a dream you're finally pursuing. They nod, pause, and say, "I've actually been doing something kind of similar. Bigger scale, though." You get a promotion. They casually drop that they're up for something even better. You start a podcast. Suddenly they're thinking about launching one too. It's not loud. It's not even obvious. But it's constant. They don't directly challenge you. They just always need to one-up you, just enough to remind you. You're not ahead. You're not competing, but they are. Jung explained that when a fragile ego feels threatened, it masks the fear with performance, with comparison. They can't simply celebrate you, because to them, your win is their loss. So every time you rise, they subtly try to reclaim the high ground. And here's the twist. They do it with a smile, with softness, with innocence. So if you call it out, you look crazy, but you're not. You're just finally catching the pattern. When competition fails to cut you down, they switch weapons, jokes, not to bond, to bruise. They turn you into the punchline high and expect you to laugh along. They tease you in front of others, bring up things you told them privately, mock your passions, diminish your effort. And when you flinch, they say, "Wow, calm down, you're so sensitive." But here's what they don't realize. You were never offended by the joke. You were wounded by the intent. Because it wasn't funny. It was strategic. Jung described the trickster archetype, someone who uses humor to hide hostility. It's the emotional version of gaslighting, and if you ever try to push back, you become the problem. You ruin the mood. You're the one who can't take a joke. But notice this, the joke is always at your expense. They never joke about their own insecurities. They never make themselves the target, because this isn't about play, it's about power. And if someone's idea of bonding is always bruising, you're not in a friendship, you're in a psychological hierarchy, eh? And they've placed you at the bottom, and still you laugh, you play along, because what else can you do, right? They made it a joke, and now you're trapped inside it. So you nod, you smile, you walk away, you leave the conversation smiling, no, but your body feels bruised. You didn't fight. Nothing mean was said. They smiled, they asked questions, they even said nice things. But when you walk away, your body feels off. Your mind replays the conversation, looking for a reason, but the reason is already in your body. You feel drained, deflated, uneasy. That's because your subconscious picked up what your conscious mind wasn't ready to name. Jung taught that the psyche is constantly scanning for emotional safety. When someone's words say one thing, but their presence says something else, your body reacts. Your nervous system is whispering, this person isn't safe, not dangerous, just not aligned. Their smile didn't warm you, it unsettled you. Their attention didn't feel like care, it felt like surveillance. If someone consistently leaves you feeling hollow, anxious, or confused, that's not a bad vibe. That's emotional static, and your body is trying to tune out before it gets sick. So they don't attack you, they just observe you. Take notes. You thought they were listening, but they were logging, storing stories, waiting for leverage. They're not asking because they care. They're gathering data. Real friends are curious about your life, even when it's inconvenient. They ask because they care, not because they need ammo. but someone who secretly despises you. They don't ask about your dreams unless they need to copy them. They don't ask about your struggles unless they want to measure them against their own. They don't listen to understand. They listen to compare. They ask just enough to collect, but never enough to connect. And when you share something vulnerable, they nod politely, maybe offer a bland comment, then pivot the conversation right back to them. Jung said that when two true personalities meet, transformation happens. But with this person, nothing transforms because they're not present to evolve. They're present to observe and evaluate. And what they're really measuring is this: are you ahead of me or behind? If someone only engages when you're low, silent when you're growing, and competitive when you're rising, that's not curiosity, that's strategy. And when strategy stops working, silence becomes their last weapon. They won't attack your success. They'll just wait for the moment it exhausts you. Because when you finally fall apart, they finally look relaxed. This one is the most disturbing. You're heartbroken, and they show up with support. But something feels off. They're too calm, too comfortable, almost like your chaos soothes them. It doesn't feel like compassion. It feels like satisfaction, dressed as sympathy. They don't want you destroyed. They just want you smaller, because your shine is exhausting to them. It makes them question their choices. It makes them confront their own inaction. But your sadness, that makes the room feel safe again. Jung warned that emotionally unintegrated people often feed on others' struggles because it keeps them from facing their own emptiness. They don't want you to fall, but they're not entirely mad when you do, because when you're hurting, you're no longer threatening, and that's the only version of you they can stand. They breathe easier when you break, because broken feels familiar, and your power. That was never part of their plan. But now that you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You don't need another example. You've already lived through enough of them. This isn't about them anymore. It's about what you're finally ready to do with the truth. And when even your collapse becomes their comfort, you stop asking who they are. You start asking who you are. So, what now? Most people notice these patterns and do nothing. They rationalize, excuse, blame themselves. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe they're just awkward. Maybe I'm being paranoid. But Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life. And you will call it fate. This is not fate. This is your wake-up call. You're not being dramatic. You're just finally seeing clearly. So, what do? Now that you finally see it, you don't react. You realign. Because clarity isn't a call to war. It's a call to return to yourself. Start here. Trust what you feel. That discomfort, it's not a glitch, it's intelligence. Your gut holds the memory your mind tries to dismiss. And then, stop negotiating with what's already chosen. You won't love them into changing. You won't dim yourself into being less threatening. You can't repair a connection that was designed to control you. This isn't healing, it's self-erasure. They've already made their choice. Now you make yours. And finally, protect your peace without the performance. No final texts, no closure speeches, no curated exit. Just distance, quiet, boundaries that speak for themselves. Not to punish them, but to remember yourself. Because here's the truth, their resentment was never about you. It was about the way your light exposed their shadows, the way your joy threatened their numbness, the way your growth made their excuses look pathetic. You didn't do anything wrong. You just kept rising, and that scared them. So let them squint, let them whisper, let them flinch. You're not here to stay small. You're here to shine. And the people who can't stand your light were never meant to stand beside it. If this video resonated, the next one will hit even deeper. It's about how to tell the difference between real support and the kind that secretly wants you to fail. Click it now. This is where your real clarity begins.